Cancel.
Schweezy.
Oh no! Our table!
Alright, so since it is the last cancel Schweezy of the year, or 2022, depends on your how you identify as a gender of the year. This is the last cancel Schweezy of 2022, last cancel Schweezy of the year. Every year, I do like looking at the albums I enjoyed, the albums I didn't enjoy, etc., etc. I like to rank them in order, and I like to talk about my favorite albums of each year. It's always a weird list because, you know, a lot of times what will happen is I'll discover a new artist I really like, a new artist I'm going to like really enjoy and just listen to their albums nonstop. And what happened is that album came out the previous year I found it, which isn't too uncommon for a lot of people because a lot of times like an album cycle they usually try to last 2 years, you know, for the most part. But yeah, no, it's like I listened to Magnolia Park. That's her name. It's not a song name. Yeah, Magnolia Park's the name. I was like, for a second, I was like, that's not a name of one of their songs, is it? I'm like, no, it's Magnolia Park. They didn't release anything, but I listened to them a lot this year. And a lot of other artists listen to Blink-182 a lot, you know. But anyways, though, what I like to do every year is I like to go over my top 10 favorite albums of the year. Just to wrap up the year, my top 10 favorite albums. Now, a lot of times I do lists like these, and I see someone in the comments going, hey, this album that I really liked was not on your list. Well, I'm here to tell you that I don't give a shit about your opinion. This is my list. If I wanted to listen to your list, you start your own podcast and you do all that yourself, okay? Because this is about me. We're talking about me right now. So
come on, Mark, don't be stingy.
Anyways, though, I guess we can just start getting right into it. Typically, you know, last year, I think last year was the first year I did this, and I really like doing this, so I'm doing it again this year. I would typically start off with honorable mentions. Now, album-wise or EP-wise, EPs will be involved here, but I think all these are actually albums. Yeah, nothing really came up. To me, I would say, like, this is great, but for some reason, I cannot count this to our list. Like, usually, like, if Taylor Swift, you know, she was in, like, a whole weird deal with, like, having to re-release all of her records. Like, I'm not going to put that on my list. Like, those albums already technically came out. This is so Taylor has her rights back to her music, yada, yada, yada. So that's the situation. But this year, I really didn't have any honorable mentions, and I didn't really go out of my way of, like, I didn't see a lot of artists that, like, I liked this year that I would say that, like, released a bad album. Because, like, even artists I did like, and not necessarily my favorite album they've ever released, I still like them, and some of them I have made the list this year. But for the most part, yeah, I didn't have any albums that I think need to be put in an honorable mention. I only released one song this year, which is fun. Maybe 2023. I'm thinking we're gonna get some releases out in 2023. You know, as long as God is, you know.
Come on, Mark, don't be stingy.
I have to get off my ass and get recording done. So yeah, I didn't really have any honorable mentions, or I didn't have any albums I wish were good but were ass. Because last year, Ed Sheeran, Adele, and Bleachers all released albums that were just not good, just generally not good. And I was dreading finishing the new Pokemon game, mainly because at the end credits it's an Ed Sheeran song, and how Twitch does not flag 1 million people for reaching the credits, I don't know. Maybe there's a weird copyright thing with it. That is always weird with video games. Like, you could use video game music, like in a YouTube video, rarely get flagged for copyright. It's just very weird. But anyways, though, I think I've been rambling long enough for this. Let's get into our first album, or what I would like to say, the number 10 slot of Schweezy's albums of the year. Number 10, Demi Lovato's album, Holy Fuck, or Holy FVCK, Holy Vuk, as the album would say. It's probably just easily to get around censors,
Feel like a woman, a real woman. Let's go full throttle. This is the type of guy you
There we
get.
go. He still hasn't remembered the soundboard. So Demi Lovato, I was genuinely surprised. So Demi Lovato, I believe they go by she, they now. If I'm right, I could be wrong. I'm not trying to cause any microaggressions. I'm not trying to do that. But I believed last I heard she, they. So I just want to point that out there. I'm not trying to offend anyone. We're just talking about music here, okay? So Demi, she released. Usually when Demi Lovato has music out, you'll occasionally have the bop like "Cool for the Summer." That was a fucking fun song. And then "Heart Attack." That was a fun one. So it's always like been like just random fun songs. Never like an entire album I've listened to of Demi Lovato's that I've been like, holy fucking shit, this is great. And I think I'll just call it holy fuck because I don't think I can say holy fuck. I don't think I'm going to be able to say that. But no, I was genuinely surprised that Demi just released a fucking banger of an album. Like, this is number 10, folks. And I think this album is great. She has a 1729? She has that song. Clearly about Wilmer Valderrama. But, like, and then, like, and it's really weird because she's clearly, like, I don't think... It was pretty predatory of a relationship. Let's just be honest with you. It's kind of weird, but like he's still working. Like he's gonna be on the new that '90s show. Like he's still around. And like you look at a lot of his exes, and they're all pretty young, which I don't get that. Mainly because I think 17-year-old girls are annoying. Was it my rule is 21? My rule has been 21 for a minute. And I'm like I'm not gonna like fucking wait for her to be able to turn 21 to go to a bar or whatever. I'm like, I'm a grown man. Very soon, though, it's going to be changing to 25, and it's just going to stay there. Because you can date a 25-year-old. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are, assuming you haven't known them since they were children. That's the problem. That's a problem. But, like, just say you meet a woman, and she's like, I'm 25. It's okay. You're always going to be allowed to date a 25-year-old. Results may vary. But you're always going to be allowed to date a 25-year-old. And it's never going to be even be like, yeah, there's an age gap. But she was 25. And, like, that is a grown-ass person, a young grown-ass person, Anyways, though, that's off topic. Demi Lovato, though, really good. And they went into a very pop-punk, which a lot of artists have kind of going back to more pop-punk rock. And, Demi is, like, I do know a little bit about Demi. She's always been into... a lot of rock music for the most part and like pop punk and stuff like that. So people are like, oh, she switched genres or anything. But I'm like, well, it's still very pop. It still has a big of a flair of like a pop album. I would say it does have that pop flair, but it does have a rock altitude. And I believe I think her name was Jen, but I could be wrong. But she played guitar with Evanescence. She's in like the guitar player she got for her tours. Fucking baller. But anyways, holy fuck. Fantastic album, number 10 on my list. The reason why I feel like it's the lowest one out of here is that I really listened to it for a couple days, and I haven't really thought about going back to it for the most part, but I do think it's really good. And so, if you're looking for what I would rate the 10 out of 10 albums, it's going to be Holy Fuck by Demi Lovato. Fuck with the V, to be sure. So, check that out. Number 9 on my list, we got Panic at the Disco, Viva Las Vengeance. I know some of you are thinking, this one's on the list? Very controversial pick, and I'm aware that for some reason this is controversial. And apparently people aren't a big fan of Panic or Brendan Urie anymore. From the research I know he did, like he made like a trans joke that a long time ago, and people didn't like that. But he's also like pansexual, so it's like I don't even know about that, So like generally though, I do like a lot of the songs of this album. It's no A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. It's just saying, Pretty Odd was pretty good too, but like I think A Fever You Can't Sweat Out is pretty good. And a lot of people have really don't like Panic ever since like Ryan Ross left the group, and they kind of think Ryan Ross is more like the lyrical genius in the group before that. But like Panic at the Disco I've always kind of described as playing songs or like making songs that like musicians would want to play live for the most part. And yeah, I think Viva Las Vengeance very much clear that route for it. And I genuinely enjoy this album. I thought it was a great album. I really enjoyed listening to it. And there's a lot of songs I do enjoy in it. And here's a question, though. If people are cringing about what I'm talking about right now, one thing I would say is, would you be upset if it was just Brendan Urie's solo project and not Panic at the Disco? Because it's probably still Panic at the Disco. A record label has probably decided that. It's probably not Brendan Urie for the most part deciding that. Because it's just a solo project at this point. But like, if it was just Brendan Urie's solo project, would you give a shit, if you're mad about it? That's a good question. Another thing that's a little controversial, so they recorded this album with an 8-track recorder, and because they wanted to have a more vintage and live sounding feel with it, which if you and people were like, oh, Brendan, you wanted to do a second take on this, and people were like criticizing Brendan Urie's vocals, and I do have a TikTok on this somewhere. I'm not going to dig it up and show it on the show, but about how it was recorded on an 8-track, and so now we're at this debate where people complain that music nowadays is way too polished and way too precise, and that's because the way we produce vocals and we use pitch correcting software and auto-tune and other stuff like that for it. And so people are like, back in my day, people didn't need that. I'm like, if you want to listen to, I love Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, but you can notice some problems in those recordings. You can notice some real problems, but it was just a solid recording though, something like that. And it's like, if they made it today, they would not leave a lot of that stuff that's in that album in. I don't think that album sonically though sounds good at all, but I love that record. So he recorded with an 8-track. They recorded it with an 8-track, and so some of the takes, are not tuned perfectly, and you're like, Brendan, you can do the take again, and people are showing it. I'm like, okay, so do you want music to sound real, or do you want it to sound perfect? Because if you want music to sound perfect, you're gonna have to expect that they're gonna do a lot of work on it. If you want music to sound real, mistakes happen. You don't always hit everything, especially vocals. How modern vocals are recorded, you do 4 takes and you just take pieces of it. So you say on the first take you said one line, and then after that though you didn't sing that part right. So you go to a second or third take and you take a piece from that, and that's how you would kind of you piece all your vocal takes together. They didn't do that for this album, so people have to decide: do you want perfect sounding music, or would you like music to sound real? And I would like music to sound real if I see it live. That's 100% what I want. But recordings at this point for me, I'm so accustomed to it sounding so perfect, I like it to sound perfect. That's just me. And you know what they say.
This is the type of guy you get.
There we go. Also, there's a song "Make Up Sex" in the middle of a breakup, and I like to call it "Make Up Shrek." Who's on my shirt today if you're watching the show, in the middle of a breakup. It's instead of having makeup sex, you have Makeup Shrek, where you're gonna break up, but you watch Shrek instead of having sex. That's pretty funny to me.
Are you ready to get fucked up?
So so that's number 9. That's Panic at the Disco, Viva Las Vengeance. I do think it's great. I do think it's a fun album to listen to. I don't think it's as heartfelt as most Panic at the Disco albums, but I think if you're at that career point for any of those musicians, that's music you want to play live, and it's fun to play live. So definitely something I would say, just give it a try. Number 8, we have Harry's House. Some of you may know, most of you don't, because I don't think I've told anyone this.
What?
That As It Was probably my most streamed song according to Apple Music, and it's just a fucking banger of a song. I might make I'm in my mind, should I make a cover of that song? And it's always Oasis would say, maybe. Anyways, though, but it was my most streamed song of the year. And remember when Harry released As It Was? I'm a big fan of a band, Dayglow, which is a one-guy thing, but it's Dayglow. He released my favorite album of last year, Harmony House. Definitely go check that out if you want music from the previous year. But when Harry released As It Was, people kind of thought it was it was a Dayglow song. A lot of people thought a Dayglow song that Harry Styles is singing. And I guess the guy behind Dayglow, I can't remember his name at the moment, but he was I've gotten a lot of messages. people will think that Harry wrecked me off with his new song, but I'm just flattered that people think of me when they hear that. Because it's a very well produced song and stuff like that. A lot of other great songs on that record as well. This one I don't feel like I need to go into as much of because the Harry Styles record, like, just good songs throughout. And great, just great songs. And Music for a Sushi Restaurant was big on TikTok. This was like I think of the albums I liked this year, this one was my probably like songs I liked that were mostly on TikTok. I think it would be Harry Styles' Harry's House, which I like album titles that could be like, my new album, Schweezy's House, and it's like a joke on Harry's House, but I don't think people will think about it that way. I think people will think it's just called Schweezy's House. I think that's all people are going to think it's about. So that's Harry's House, number 8.
I like that.
Number 7, we have Muna's self-titled album, Muna. We're not talking about the Pokemon. We're talking about Muna the band. Muna, they're a queer band. So it's made up of 3. Well, 2 of them are women, one's non-binary. But they're all queer. They say they're all queer, and all the members are hot for some reason. It's just upsetting for me as a man because like I feel like there's something about like maybe I have a chance with her, but they're all hot and they're all not interested in men. I 100% believe none of them are interested in men. As far as I know, I don't know them personally, but that's kind of the thing with the band. But they switched record labels, meaning they had some other songs that I really like. Number One Fan was always a great song. I know a place we can go where everyone has to lay down the weapons, well down the weapons. I'm just singing butt rock style. But yeah, no, they switched labels, so I guess they were on a label, and I guess they had something happened that I can't remember at the moment, and they had switched labels, so they joined Phoebe Bridgers' record, which is something sad music or something like that. So obviously I think it was a good direction for this band, and the song I think is a total fucking banger. Silk Chiffon is a complete banger featuring Phoebe Bridgers. So if you're a fan of Phoebe Bridgers and you want more upbeat pop dancing stuff, like Muna's self-titled album it's just fucking great. And sometimes I wish the lead singer Katie was at least bisexual, so she'd be into me. But she's not. She's not. Life's dirty. It'd be like that sometimes. What is this one? I don't know. Okay, we're not gonna play fucking Daddy. So life be like that sometimes, but it do. It'd be like that, but it do. So Muna's self-titled. That's number 7. We got a lot more to go through, folks. Number 6, we have James and the Shame. Their album Man Overboard. So, James and the Shame, basically, who is James and the Shame? It's Rhett, I believe it's Rhett, not Link. Rhett of Rhett and Link and Good Mythical Morning. Basically, if you know who those, I feel like most people know who those guys are. They're like very wholesome, family content, and they always do a good job. I gotta say, they made the original butt drugs commercial, so I owe them my whole career. For some reason, because I just say honk if you love butt trucks on every episode. But we have James and the Shame, though. So it's interesting because it's very Merle Haggard old country. So this is the only country record on this album, on this list. Okay, folks. Usually a whole country album does not make the list, but this one did, and I generally love this. A lot of this album is about it was Rhett. Or his first name is actually James, but I guess he goes by Rhett on the internet. But it's basically old school country about deconstructing your Christian faith. I made my mom listen to it, and I don't think she listened to the words. And I was just like, oh, those are what your grandpa used to listen to. And I don't think she really listens to words music. You play in an old cover band. She's like, I don't really know the songs you guys play. I'm like, it was just music that was popular when you were a child. But for the most part, though, it's a great album. I love listening to it because it's it's a very deep album. It generally makes you think about things, and I don't listen to I'm not gonna say like philosophical, but I feel like philosophical at least in regards to your faith. If you're anywhere in the Christian faith, or if you're anywhere in your deconstruction process, like, but also like, if you're a Christian, go through a deconstruction process. I'm telling you, you'll come out better on the other side. I promise you, you'll come out better. And I'm not in your deconstruction process. A lot of people stay Christian after it, but they have to, you got to deconstruct everything. But it's very interesting. I've not listened to a lot of records that, like, I think Gungor probably has some records about deconstructing your faith, but also with Gungor, they're kind of like, they act like they're smarter than you and like you're being talked down to, which I fucking hate that shit. But the James and the Shame Man Overboard album, I generally think it's great. It's a great album. And guess the only thing I'm certain of is that I ain't certain about much. It's just like, yeah. I guess I'm not certain about much. I don't know. It's a good thinking album. It's good. It's very relaxing music too. Generally, it's very laid back as well. So, generally, yeah. If you like deconstructing your Christian faith, or just old country music, I think, like Merle Haggard, I think James and the Shame is something you're gonna really like. So,
Come on, Mark. Don't be stingy.
All right, we're now in the top 5 of our album breakdown. Number 5, the 1975 Being Funny in a Foreign Language. So I think the 1975 is generally probably one of my favorite working bands today. They're very creative. It's very thoughtful, well thought out music. It's kind of falls under the category of being a rock band. It could be pop music. It's very dancey, has electronic elements to it all the time, and it's always very well thought out music. And that's something I think the 1975 really has going to them today. They're like the good rock bands, one of the good rock bands, and like Matty Healy is like checking IDs and getting consent to kiss girls, I'm like, man, I want that to be me. And shit like that. I'm like, that's my dream right there. But I just get guys showing up to my show, man, I really like what kind of guitar you play. And I'm like, shut up. And shit like that. But yeah, I wouldn't say this is like my favorite album they've ever made, though. I think it has a lot of great stuff because I really liked, was it The Internet 2 albums ago? A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships. I really enjoyed that album. That album had It's Not Living If It's Not With You, which is probably one of my favorite songs. It's about, basically the song is about Matty Healy's heroin addiction, but he stages it as a romance, but it's also like him watching someone else's problems and comparing it to himself, so you don't have to think about yourself. It's a very complex song, but it's also a banger. So this album does have some bangers too. Like, there's never gonna be it's gonna be a while till we get to a bad 1975 album because they're just so creative and thoughtful with their music. Like Happiness, that was the first song they released. Going nowhere, and then I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. It's just fucking, I found it. You got it. That's a good love song. And it's interesting how they create, because they're one of the few bands that create an era with their albums too. Because I think the album before that is pretty sad because I think it came out right before COVID. And then they're like, I don't know if we can really do whatever we want with this album. And so we're just going to start working on the next one. And then I guess 2 years later, that was 2. Wow, it's been a fucking long 2 years, brothers. I guess they released Being Funny in a Foreign Language. So, so that's number 5. The 1975, Being Funny in a Foreign Language. Number 4, we got Taylor Swift's Midnights. This is somewhat of a return to form for Taylor in a lot of senses because, we had 1989, which I feel like is her staple album. It's probably one of her best albums, and, she's never going to top it, but she's never going to not make a bad album. And she released Reputation, which a lot of people didn't like, but it was her Reputation era. And it had I think Reputation I've come around on a lot. I really like that album. Looking back on it has a lot of good songs. Then you had Lover, which severely underrated by everyone. Severely underrated. That album is so fucking good. And then COVID hit. She released America. What the fuck? She released Folklore, and she released Evermore, which like very acoustic, stripped back songs, not super electronic pop type stuff. And so I was like wondering, like, oh, is this kind of like where Taylor's taking her music now? They had the guy from, it's not the Atlantic. Is it the Atlantic? That's not the band. I'm not, but he was producing it with Jack Antonoff, and so like that. So then they released Midnights, and Taylor seemed to work with Jack at Midnights. This album has it all, folks. Anti-Hero, just an instant classic. Oh yeah, that's an instant classic. And then they walk into the room, you feeling the whole place shiver. Vigilante shit, I really like that song too. There's a lot going for Midnights, and I think this is a great album, and it's going to stand out. It's going to stand the test of time. I definitely think Midnights will. Definitely for a lot of, like, people are so obsessed with Taylor Swift, and they're like, everything is like a theory, or she's leaving us clues and stuff like that, and like she made fun of those people in the Anti-Hero music video, which was it's just perfect down to the last detail. Only other thing though, I think Jack Antonoff, and like, first of all, I love Bleachers. I've seen Bleachers twice, and I was severely upset how bad their newest album was. Like, it was bad. But I don't know. I think Jack Antonoff's losing his touch. I loved him in Steel Train. I loved him in Fun. He did a little bit with the format, and then Bleachers' first 2 records were great, and then it's just been downhill for him. So I don't know. He's losing his touch. I'm sad about it, but I don't know. I'd like to hear a Taylor Swift album not produced by Jack Antonoff. It's becoming too commercial. Jack Antonoff's music is, to be honest with you. But that's just a theory. A music theory. Fuck that guy. I don't know that guy. Okay, so number 3. We're getting to the close on the bottom of the list. Avril Lavigne, Love Sucks. I believe, I am happy to announce, Avril Lavigne has been releasing the shittiest music since I was in high school. Like, she stopped making good music a long time ago. Like, it's been a minute since she's released good music. Everyone's like, Avril is the queen of pop punk. I'm like, look, I love Avril. No, she's not. She, you can't be going a decade releasing absolute garbage and still be considered the queen of a specific genre. Just saying. But I'm happy now. Ever since Girlfriend came out, like, until Bite Me, the music for Bite Me dropped. That was the bad era of Avril. That's when her alter ego Melissa took over. But Love Sucks, this is the first album in probably a very long time by Avril Lavigne that didn't suck. But not only do I just like a couple songs, I love the entire album. The whole album is just fucking great. She collabs with Mark Hoppus. She collabs with Machine Gun Kelly. She collaborated with Black Bear. I think Black Bear comes on a track. I don't know if, I listened to a couple of his original stuff and I like it a lot. But when he collabs with someone, he just fucking goes full throttle.
I feel like a woman, a real woman.
Yeah, dude. It's just so good. My favorite song on this is Deja Vu, which part of it is a continuation of the song before it, Avalanche. It's kind of like the same melody, but a new song out of it. You have to listen to it to really understand it. But, Bite Me was the first single that I'm like, is Avril Lavigne finally making good music again. And it just made me so excited for that. And then I Love It When You Hate Me, Black Bear, Boys Lie. But I can too, revenge is my sweet tooth, boys cry, and so will you, 'cause boys lie. But anyways though, great album, number 3 of my year-end list, Love Sucks by Avril Lavigne. All right, number 2, we're on the number 2 slot, State Champs, Kings of a New Age. I think of bands I started listening to in 2022, I would say State Champs as good because it has that pop punk feel, and it's in a good way. And I don't think any of those guys are pedophiles, which it's very hard to find pop punk guys who aren't pedophiles. To be honest with you, like, oh, so you're pop punk? Name the age of consent in every state. And if you can, you're definitely pop punk. Anyways, though, it was a great album. I think it had the thing with pop punk is you talk about pop punk music, and like you go back to the Ramones, you go back to the Sex Pistols, and you have that. And you had Green Day come in. I think Green Day was one of the very first few who really made punk in a pop format. Pop. When you think about pop music, people are like, "Oh, pop music sounds a certain way." I'm like, no, pop music doesn't have to sound any way at all. The reason it's called pop is because pop is short for popular music. And when you think about popular music, it's the fact that, oh, a lot of people like this, or a lot of people like them, et cetera, et cetera. That's why it's pop. I think they did a good job with the pop and the punk. Like, they made punk music that was pop, that could be seen as pop. And you can debate all you want about it, but I think just State Champs just fucking knocks it out of the park. And then I started listening to their older stuff. I've got more secrets than you'll ever know. Another year and you won't let it go. Great banger too. They had a song "Act Like That." That's the song? Yeah, I think that's the song, right? It's not "Act Like That." I know Youngblood has a song called "Act Like That." I'm just gonna look into my music library just real quick. Yeah, it's "Act Like That." Okay, I was right. Yeah, it featured Mitchell Tenpenny. I don't know if they're band Mitchell and the Tenpennies, but it's Mitchell Tenpenny was featured on it. But it was good. Like, I've rarely heard like country singers, collab with pop punk guys, or pop punk artists, It's like, it's kind of interesting. I think you did a really good job. Give me some ideas, which you'll find out one day, hopefully. Everybody But You is another song. I think that's their big song on this album. Just a summer banger, Like, pop punk needs to sound like summer, and this song just nailed that, specifically. But also, just think there's many other songs on this album. Not a lot of skippable songs. You can just sit there and listen to it, and you're like, oh, I'll listen to this again. Oh, okay, yeah, it'll be on before this one. Like, not a lot of skippable songs on this album. And that's what I really like about Kings of a New Age, by State Champs. Go check that out. I'll tell you. Go check that out. Last but not least, we have our final album, my favorite album of 2022. And guess what? It's controversial. My favorite album of 2022 would be Machine Gun Kelly's Mainstream Sellout. So, yep, I know you're someone's like, I can't believe you like Machine Gun Kelly. I'm like, some good fucking songs, man. And I fucking love that album. It's so good. Like, he talked about, like, his dad dying, and, because his dad died the same day Hotel Diablo 2 albums ago came out. And so, you're still doing that. I'm like, I'm never going to get over my dad. Like, I understand what he's talking about. He's talking about his mental struggle and stuff like that. I'm like, there's like, he had a gun in his mouth, and he had Megan Fox on the phone and stuff like that. People were making fun of him. I'm like, this dude's having mental health problems. Like, if it was someone you cared about doing that, you would not be like that, It's weird. I think hip-hop and pop-punk going together is a fucking great thing. I think those two coming together has made some great music. I know country and hip-hop tried to go together for a while, and we all hated it, me included. I like a couple Florida Georgia Line songs. But overall, though, I would say, yeah, it didn't work for country, but I think the way they're doing it in hip-hop or in pop-punk is working great. I mean, Travis Barker, he's a big hip-hop fan, but he's like a pop-punk guy. Like, overall, he's always going to be a pop-punk guy. And I just think the way he did it made it work out really well. He did produce Avril Lavigne's Love Sucks too. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, overall, I would say, yeah, a Travis Barker produced album is going to be good in my book. forever and always,
Come on, Mark. Don't be stingy.
and stuff like that. So you can't be mad at me. And you're like, well, think about it this way. Think about it as a Travis Barker solo album, but it's just one guy singing. And then you're like, okay, and I like it more. Makeup Sex, I think that's probably one of my favorite songs on the album. I had Black Bear. I think, like I said, Black Bear on an album is good. Drug Dealer Girl, and that had Lil Wayne on it too. That song's just a fun listen to as well. And like I watched the documentary that it was on. I think it was on Hulu. And yeah, like apparently Lil Wayne just listened to it a couple times in the studio, did his verse, and then left, and it worked out really well. Smoked a lot of weed too, which at that point I think he needs that to function. But anyways, though, yeah, no. Machine Gun Kelly, Mainstream Sellout, that was my favorite album of the year. If it's controversial, I know it is controversial. I'm sorry that things have to be, why'd you have to go and make things so complicated? But anyways, though, if you have comments, leave comments, because, and tell me your favorite albums. I'm actually kind of curious what everyone else liked to listen to this year, because I can't listen to everything, but I can listen to some things. And I like music that makes me feel good and makes me feel something. And,
Come on, Mark. Don't be stingy.
it's not always rainbows and butterflies in our world. So, hey there, you just checked out a highlight from Cancel Schweezy. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you learned something and that you are now a smarter individual. Just so you know, we have full episodes and other many highlights available now. Click here for the next best thing that you can go check out as well. And make sure you press that subscribe button and press that notification bell. That way you get updated anytime we make a new post or anytime that we make a new highlight or full episode. So thank you, honk if you love butt drugs, and stay awesome.